Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our today's webinar. My name is Grace Chege, a tax consultant at RWK Africa, and I'll be taking you through our today's discussion on how to navigate your tax refunds. So most of the taxpayers that I've interacted with don't actually believe that KRA can refund back their money, such that when you make a payment or when you make an overpayment, you don't believe that you can be refunded back that money. But the truth is, you can get your money back legally and correctly, provided you follow the set out guidelines under the Act. And we are going to see that shortly. So in our today's discussion, we're going to break down how refunds work and the situations that qualify you to apply for a refund and the timelines involved. So this is what you're going to be looking at. We'll start with the legal framework, where we'll be looking at what the Tax Act says, what the Tax Procedures Act says with regards to tax refunds. We're also going to look at refunds under VAT, tax paid in error in the context of the commissioner, refunds under customs, under income tax, under the excise duties. And lastly, we're going to look at the trends in relation to refunds. Also, at the end of this session, we're going to have a demo on my Accurate book, so stay tuned. Now, when you as a taxpayer have made an overpayment on your taxes, you have two options. One, either to offset these taxes against your outstanding or future tax liabilities, or you can apply for a refund. And in the case of income tax, you have a period of 5 years or 6 months in the case of VAT, after the date on which the tax has been overpaid. Now, when you make your application, the commissioner has up to 90 days to review your application and ascertain as to whether there is a tax that has been overpaid. And after that, the commissioner will either offset the overpaid tax against your tax liabilities, or they'll give you a refund. That is, of course, based on your application. If you applied for a set-off, you're going to get a set-off, or if it's in the case of a refund, you're going to be refunded. So we're going to look at the legal framework under Section 47, subsection 3 of the Tax Procedures Act, which says that in case where the commissioner fails to ascertain or determine an application within 90 days, the same shall be deemed to have been approved. What this means is that when the period of 90 days lapses, the commissioner cannot come to you and tell you that either you made your application erroneously or it was not procedural, or there are some documents that you were supposed to attach that you did not attach. At that point, your application will have been deemed to be approved. Now, within this 90-day period, the commissioner may decide to conduct an audit, and this is common for taxpayers who are applying refunds for their first time. So the commissioner may decide to conduct an audit to ascertain whether there is an overpayment of taxes. So when this happens, the commissioner has up to 120 days to review your books and ascertain whether there is an overpayment, failure to which this application is going to be deemed as approved. Now, in the case where an application has been approved and the commissioner fails to, when an application has been approved, the commissioner has up to 6 months to disburse this amount, so to pay you back this amount. So when 6 months lapses and the commissioner has not disbursed these amounts to your account, they will be inclined to either offset this, offset your outstanding liabilities against the refunds, or offset against the coming or future liabilities. And when this is done and there is still a balance, the remainder shall be refunded to the taxpayer. Under subsection 10 of the Tax Procedures Act, it guides on how to navigate refunds under installment tax. So an installment tax is basically an advance tax that every business is required to pay, provided you incur a tax liability of over 40,000 annually. So how this is determined is you take your previous year's tax liability, you multiply this by 110, then you spread it evenly across the year in four monthly installments. So it's basically an estimate of the taxes that you're supposed to pay. So when you come to do your books at the end of the year and you realize that you have made an overpayment in terms of taxes with regards to installment tax, you are allowed to offset this overpayment against your future installment taxes. So when this happens and the commissioner reviews your returns and discovers that there was no overpayment, such will be treated as tax due to the commissioner. You will be required to refund that money back to the commissioner. So the commissioner is going to notify you in writing on the amounts that you're supposed to refund back to the commissioner, and the penalties and interests incurred. So if you are aggrieved by this decision made by the commissioner, you can decide to pursue this further and appeal to the tribunal within 90 days after being notified of this decision. Now we're also going to look at the legal framework under Section 47B of the Tax Procedures Act, which talks of refunds that arise on exempted or zero-rated supplies. Now, in the case where an exemption or zero-rated was not processed within the specified period due to circumstances beyond the control of the taxpayer, leading the taxpayer to pay taxes, you may apply for a refund on the same. An example is if you're making exempted supplies, you are required to apply for an exemption certificate from the Cabinet Secretary. So between the time that you're making your application to the Cabinet Secretary and the time when it's going to be approved, in between, you may conduct business where that will lead to you paying taxes. So in this case, you can go back to the commissioner, and this is the circumstance that you are saying is beyond your control because you had applied for the exemption certificate, but it was not processed within the set timelines. So you can go back to the commissioner and request for a refund on the taxes that you incurred during the waiting period. So the refund, however, on this one, the Cabinet Secretary has to approve that indeed these taxes were incurred under circumstances that were beyond your control, you as a taxpayer. We also the other guideline is on erroneous refunds on taxes by the commissioner. So there are instances where the commissioner may refund you erroneously. And in this case, the commissioner will inform you and you have 30 days to repay back these amounts, failure to which these amounts are going to incur interest equal to 1% per month or part thereof, but this shall not exceed 100% of the tax that is originally due. So if you owe the commissioner 100,000, the maximum you can pay on the interest is 100,000. It should not exceed 100% of the tax that is originally due. Now we're going to look at the next thing is how refunds arise under VAT. So VAT is basically a consumer tax that is charged on supply of taxable goods and services that are made in Kenya or imported into Kenya. Now we all know that if you are a business and you seek to make taxable supplies of up to 5 million per annum, you are required to register for VAT, and the same is paid on the 20th of the following month. So how does refunds come about under VAT? The first instance is where the amount of input tax deducted exceeds the amount of outputs. So that means in this particular period, the purchases, when you're filing your VAT, your purchases exceed your sales and it puts you in a credit position. So when this happens, you on this one, you will not be paid back your money in cash, but you're going to be allowed to carry forward these credits and offset against your forthcoming or future tax liability. So the other instance is where there is excess input which arises from making zero-rated supplies or when there are credits from tax withheld by an appointed tax withholding agent. We are going to look at this into detail in the coming slides. So when there is an excess credit in relation to tax withheld by an appointed tax withholding agent, you have the option of either offsetting these credits against your future liabilities or applying for a refund. And there are timelines involved. I want you to be very keen on the timelines because this is where the catch is. So in this case, a registered person is required to claim a refund of this excess input tax within a period of 24 months from the date that the tax becomes due. So if the tax becomes due in 2025 December, you have 2 years. You have until 2027 December to claim these refunds. Failure to which your refund will be deemed to be time barred. The other instance is when a refund arises as a result of bad debt, and this is well stipulated under Section 31 of the VAT Act. So if you are a VAT registered person and you have made supplies on which you have accounted for VAT, but your customer has not paid you back, it's 3 years and above and your customer has not paid you back. So on this one, you may apply for a refund. So the application should be made within 4 years from the date of supply. So you have 3 years the transaction or the sale will be deemed to have to be a bad debt when a period of 3 years lapses. And when it comes to making an application, you need to do this within a period of 4 years from the date of supply. So that means if you made a supply in 2025, 3 years later, the customer has not paid you, you have an additional year for you to apply for your refund. We also have tax paid in error. So where a registered person erroneously pays taxes under VAT, they can apply for a refund within 6 months. So how this comes about is when either you are a withholding agent and you have withheld taxes from the wrong taxpayer. Maybe this taxpayer is exempted, but you've ended up withholding from them, or maybe you've withheld the wrong PIN. So in such a case, you may lodge a refund, but this must happen within a period of 6 months from the date of payment of that tax. So I'm going to explain what it means when there is excess input taxes that result from a zero-rated supply. So for a VAT registered person that deals with the exempted supply, zero-rated supplies, it means when you are selling your products, you do not charge VAT on them. However, when you are making purchases for your business, could be raw materials or other expenses, you will be forced to incur VAT on the same. So when you come to pay, when you file your returns, you find that you have no output VAT, but you have incurred input VAT on the purchases that you made. So this is what KRA will refund you on. So this application should be made within 24 months from the date the tax became due and payable. So the Finance Bill 2025 seeks to make changes on this, and we are going to look into that later. Also, under excess credits that arise from tax withheld by an appointed person, an appointed withholding agent. So a withholding agent is required to withhold 2%. So when your customer will withhold, if your customer is a withholding agent, they will withhold 2% of the tax payable, VAT payable on that product, and remit the same to KRA. So when you do your returns at the end of the period and you find that there are excess credits as a result of withholding your purchases, you may apply for a refund on the same, or apply for us, or offset this against your future liabilities. So that is all under VAT. And please note on the timelines. The other obligation that we are going to discuss is refunds under custom duties. So the custom duty is a tax that is imposed on goods that are brought into Kenya. So if you're an importer, you're going to be charged custom duty on the goods that you bring to the country. So duties are assessed based on the custom value of the item, and these rates are provided for under the East African Community Customs Management Act, ECMA 2004, or the VAT Act, or the Excise Duty Act, and any other levies that have been imposed by the government legislation. So how does the refunds arise when it comes to custom duty? So when a registered person has made, well, when, for example, when you import your goods, they're normally, when you bring them into the country, they're normally held under what we call a bonded warehouse, where they'll be assessed, where their value will be assessed, classifications will be done in order to determine the duties and taxes to be paid. So when your goods are damaged at this point, when they are under the custom control, you may apply for a refund on that. Also, when there is, in the case where an import duty or export duty has been paid in error, you can also apply for a refund, or in any other case that has been stipulated under the ECMA Act. The timeline for processing this is 12 months. So when you realize you have made an overpayment on your taxes with regards to customs duty, you have a period of 12 months for you to lodge your refund. A failure to which this will be termed as time barred, meaning you're not going to be able to proceed with the application. And when an application is made, the commissioner is required to communicate to the taxpayer within a period of 2 months upon receiving an application. Now, under customs, most refunds occur due to the issues on tariff classification. So when, for example, you bring your items into the country, so KRA will have to classify these items as guided by the Act in order to determine the taxes that you are required to pay on them. So in a case where a classification has been done and KRA has given you a decision and has told you, according to our assessment, these goods, this is how these goods should be classified, you have the option of either objecting this or paying these taxes, but you're going to pay these taxes under protest. Now, so if you decide to pay these taxes under protest, and this is in the case where maybe you applied for an exemption certificate, and by the time classification is being done, maybe you have not received your exemption certificate, or maybe you just disagree with the classification that KRA has given you. So you may decide to pay these taxes, but you pay them in protest. And this is guided by Section 229, subsection 6 of the ECMA Act. So you write to the commissioner and tell them that, yes, you gave us a decision, and you, as per your decision, this is how these goods are classified. But as per our understanding or our assessment, these goods should be classified differently. So you're going to write this to the commissioner, and and tell them that you disagree with the classification that they have given you, but due to the timelines that are involved in terms of clearance at the port, because when you decide to object, it means you're going to go through the whole objection process and your goods are still there they have not been cleared, and it may take time and you'll be forced to incur additional charges. So because of these timelines, you tell the commissioner that you have decided to proceed and make the payments as per the classification, but you're going to come back later and appeal on this decision and seek for a refund on the same. So this is how the payment of tax under protest comes about under customs. So that is all under refunds when it comes to customs duty. So the other obligation we're going to look at is refunds and income tax. So when are you considered to have made an overpayment when it comes to income tax? So in the case where withholding income has been deducted at source, so there are specific incomes that have been stipulated under the Act that are subject to withholding. And one of these is professional services. So if you seek professionals, maybe you come to us and you seek for our services, when it comes to payments, you are required to withhold 5%. So this will appear on our accounts as a credit. So when you file your returns at the end of the year and you realize that these credits exceed your tax liability, then you may be liable for a refund. The other instance is when is under advanced tax on commercial vehicles. So advanced tax is a tax that is paid on commercial vehicles and is supposed to be paid at the before the 9th of January of every year. So this may also result to credits. The other is on installment tax that is paid quarterly. This we have discussed in our previous slide. The other source of overpayment is due to overdeduction of emoluments or salary. So from the listed causes of overpayments, the commissioner allows you to set off the withholding credits, installment tax, and advance taxes against your future liabilities. But in the case of salaries, if there's an overpayment in the salary, you may apply for a refund, and the commissioner will actually pay you back that overpayment. So let us look at how overdeduction comes about when it comes to salaries. So when your employer is charging you or deducting pay on you or computing pay on your salary, there are deductions that they're supposed to make and reliefs that they're supposed to account for. So when you find that your employer has not correctly accounted for these deductions or these reliefs, you may end up to be in an overpayment position when you file your return. So a deduction is basically a deduction is deducted from your is the amount that is deducted from your gross income in order to arrive at the taxable income, whereas a relief is accounted for after you have computed your tax returns. So after you have computed your taxes and ascertained the amount of taxes that you're supposed to pay, you now account for the relief. The relief is deducted at this point in order to arrive at the actual tax that you need to be paid, that needs to be paid. This is the difference between the two. So when an employer has not correctly accounted for these deductions, and currently the deductions that we have are on NSSF, that is the pension deduction. We have a housing levy, the mortgage deduction, or SHIF. And a relief, the only provision is under personal relief. So if an employer does not correctly account for this, and at the end of the period you realize that you have made an overpayment, you may apply for a refund. And this much and these amounts will be refunded back to you. Now, the other thing that I'd like to mention is how we treat, or how business losses should be treated. So a business is likely to incur losses in the course of their operation. But there's a specific way that you're supposed to account for these losses. Now, the Income Tax Act provides for a separate sourcing of income while accounting for your income tax. When you look at the template that you use to file our income tax returns, you realize that there are provisions for 7 sources of income. So you are required to correctly account for these incomes. If it's a business income, account for it separately. If it's a farming income, if it's interest, if it's rental, you need to separate these sources of income. And this is where most taxpayers get in trouble with the taxman, because we lump up all these incomes. And how KRA views this is maybe you're trying to evade to evade taxes, in the sense that you're going to offset your losses for one business the against the profits of another source of income. So when you're filing your returns, ensure that each income for each business is accounted for well, and the expenses for the same and the losses for the same are properly accounted for. So we're also going to look at how refunds arises under excise duty and miscellaneous taxes. So under excise duty, a refund arises when a person, by a person on exercisable goods that are manufactured or imported into Kenya before the goods are consumed in the country. So in the case where your goods have been damaged or destroyed, and you had already accounted for these taxes, you may apply for a refund. Also, in the case where you sold goods and there was a return, the buyer returned these goods, you may apply for a refund on that. The other instance is when, in the case of bad debts. So just like VAT, in case you made sales and the customer did not pay you back, so it becomes a bad debt, you may apply for a refund. Also, in the case of importation, of exercisable goods that have been subsequently exported, you may apply for a refund. Also, in the case where you incurred excise duty when making sales to a zero-rated buyer. In this case, you'll also be required, or you may apply for a refund, and the same will be refunded to you. So that marks the end of a discussion on how refunds arise under different tax obligations. So we're going to look at how these refunds get utilized. You need to understand that when lodging your refund, this is done through iTax. You need to log into your iTax portal and make your application from there, attach the required document, and then when this is done, you will there's a whole process surrounding application and approval. So you will leave this to the commissioner, they will review, and they'll get back to you and tell you whether your refund application has been approved or not. So there are instances where your application may be approved, but partially, meaning you applied for a refund of 400,000 or a million, but you find that the amount that has been approved is only 800,000. So this refund has been approved partially. So when a refund has been approved, the commissioner will either offset this refund against your tax returns or your tax liability, or they will pay you back this money, or they will refund you this money. So in the case where you want the refunds to be utilized to offset your future tax liability, this has to be done in writing. You have to write to the commissioner and tell them that you wish for those refunds to be offset against the said tax liability. And you have to be very specific on the tax liability that you want these refunds to be offset on. So when this is done and the commissioner has approved your application and your set of your refund and your set of application, in case of future liabilities on this obligation that you have stated, it will not incur any interest or penalties. So if you applied and you said that you wish these refunds to offset, say, your VAT for a particular month, when that month, remember the commissioner has up to 6 months to refund you this money. So in between, if you incur a tax liability, and this tax liability you had stated in your set off that you wish these refunds to be used on that, the tax liability will not incur any interest or penalties, which I think is a good thing. Now there's an instance where you will find that you have applied for a refund, the same has been approved, but it has taken, and when an approval is done, the commissioner, we've said, has 6 months to approve, to disburse these amounts to your account. So if the period of 6 months lapses and the commissioner has not disbursed these amounts, the way the system has been set is that when the 6 months period lapses, you're going to automatically receive a refund adjustment voucher on your email. the registered email, the email that you use to register your iTax, you're going to receive a refund adjustment voucher. So this refund adjustment voucher, you're going to use this to offset either your current or your future tax liability. Any, it could be any, not necessarily limited to the obligation to which the refund relates to. You can use this refund adjustment voucher to offset any tax liability. So stay tuned. We're going to tell you when we'll be having our taxation masterclass. And in this masterclass, we're going to show you the step-by-step guide on how to apply for your refunds and how to utilize this refund adjustment voucher. In the case where you have in the case where you have a refund adjustment voucher, we're going to show you how to utilize it. So what are these roadblocks to refund? What are these headaches that comes with refund application? So when you make your application on iTax, your application will go through a process. It's going to go through different officers where they'll be asking you for different, they'll be reviewing different things, and they may request for you to provide certain documentation. So this process may take some time. Yeah, and sometimes even though we have these guidelines, you find that there are some inconsistencies when it comes to adherence on these timelines on the side of the KRA. So sometimes they may drag your refund application for a very long time. You keep it becomes a push and pull. So this may take some time. Also, there may be, so that explains the delays in processing of refunds. Also, in the case where there's an audit, so the whole process of auditing and requesting for documents, these documents may be very bulky or may require a lot of time for you to retrieve them. So all this may cause the whole refund process to be delayed or to be strenuous. But there's a remedy to this, and I will tell you when at the end of this webinar, I will give you a trick on how to go about these roadblocks. So lastly, but not least, we're going to look at the refunds, the trends surrounding refunds. And this is mostly with regards to the Finance Bill 2025. So you realize that this year's finance bill does not seek to really increase taxes, but the taxman is working on ways to really cut on or really look for ways to seal the loopholes that exist and expand the tax base. But when it comes to refund, they are keen on reducing on refunds when it comes to especially VAT. And this is evident because under the bill, there's a proposal to remove certain items from the zero-rated list and place them under the exempt schedule. And these products that have been affected are the locally assembled and manufactured mobile phones, the electric bicycles, and inputs for manufacturers of animal feeds. We have solar and lithium-ion batteries. So when these items are moved to exempt, they're termed to be exempt, it means that there will be no refunds. You see, when a commodity is zero rated, you are eligible for a refund. But when it's exempt, an exempted supplier is not even required to register for VAT. So on this one, KRA is looking on ways to really cut costs when it comes to refund payments. The other thing that has been affected is the VAT refund claim timeline. So the current timeline is 24 months, but the bill proposes to reduce this to a period of 12 months. So that means this is not advantageous to the taxpayers, because it means now your time for applying for your refund has been limited. So you need to be very cautious. That is, if the bill is passed, we need to be very keen on the timelines and ensure that we adhere to that. Also, the timelines on bad debts has been reduced, as there's a proposal to reduce this from 3 years to a period of 2 years, which is a good thing, because now we don't have to wait until 3 years for you to deem a particular transaction as a bad debt. So to me, this is a good thing. So this brings us to the end of our discussion today on refunds. I believe this has been very educative for those people who did not know that you can be refunded. It is very possible. So the trick that I mentioned earlier, is on follow-ups. You really need to be very you need to make follow-ups on these refunds. So don't just apply on your iTax and sit back and wait for it to be approved. You will wait forever. You need to make your application and ensure that you keep following up. Be there, even if it's every week, and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And you'll realize that when you do this, your application is going to be processed very, very fast. So we have done this. We have our customers, we have our clients whom we apply refunds for and do these follow-ups for. And we have assisted so many in getting refunds in millions or even tens of millions, and within a very short period of time. And this is because we do a lot of follow-ups, and in case of any documentation, you ensure that it is provided, and you keep following up and making calls and going there physically. You need to go there physically and talk to them. Yeah. And so this will help in really pushing your refunds and avoid the sorry for that. So this when you make follow-ups, this is going to really help when it comes to your refunds being processed faster. So that being said, before I wrap up this discussion for today, allow me to take you through the programs or the sessions that we have this month. And one of it is bookkeeping masterclass, which will be starting on 19th of May to the 23rd. So it's going to be a virtual training happening between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. So you will attend this class at the comfort of your house after work. You will have time to attend these classes, and we're going to charge a small fee of 10,000 Kenyan shilling. So this fee is not even comparable to the benefits that you're going to get from this masterclass. You're going to learn on how to master your double entry and your journal entries. You're going to learn on how to navigate your charts of accounts under QuickBooks. You're going to learn how to do your bank reconciliation. You're going to learn internal controls. You're going to learn how to manage your payables and receivables and even your cash flow. There's also budgeting, forecasting, and financial planning. You're also going to learn tax compliance in relation to bookkeeping, and also interpretation of financial statements for decision making. So we welcome you all. Please contact us and we can direct you further on how to sign up for these classes. And I look forward to meeting all of you in our next week's bookkeeping masterclass. It's going to be very informative. The other program that we have lined up for you is the CEO's breakfast, where we're going to be discussing on taxation of businesses in the exports industry. So this will be on 29th of May, between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. and it will be held at the Expressway Lounge at Mombasa Road next to Imara Mall. So we welcome you all. So even if you are not a CEO, could be you know someone who can benefit from this, ensure that you pass this information to them. We are charging only 2,000 Kenyan shilling for the same. So also I'm welcoming you all to our next week's webinar, which will be on 23rd of Yeah, welcome. Aside from our professional services, we also do have a CSR program that we learn, which we call the Skill Up Mentorship Program. So under this program, we train the community on how to make different products, and we help them to start their businesses. So we teach on how to make products such as bar soap. We have baking. We have even animal feeds. So on this particular one, we'll be training on how to make animal feeds. So we welcome you all. This is a free training happening on 24th of May, next week, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to noon, at Thika Road Technical College. So come all, invite your friends and or anyone who can benefit from this, invite them and let us learn together. So upon learning on how to prepare those products, we do not leave you like that. We hold your hand and we help you grow your business. So we have what we call a business incubation program, where we teach on sales strategies, We teach you on how to manage your finances as a startup business. We teach you on how to market your products, and this is absolutely free. So this will be happening on the 17th of May, tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at Thika Road Technical College. So come and learn how to market your products. But on this particular one, we'll be doing sales strategies. We'll be teaching businesses on how to we'll be teaching on how to make to sell their commodities. So also on this one, we welcome you. So that marks the end of my of our training today. Thank you so much for making time to join this webinar and to learn. So at this point, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be having a demo on my accurate books. So please don't leave the meeting. Please don't leave the meeting. This will not take much of your time. It will take like 30 minutes. So stay tuned and get to learn or get to experience this accounting software. So thank you so much and have a good day. Please don't leave the meeting. The demo is going to start in a few minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. My name is John, and I see there's a question. There's someone's hand. That is Dina Aberi. I see your hand is up. Is it a reaction, a question, a concern? All right. So if you can hear me, I just want a thumbs up. If you can hear me, just a thumbs up. Wonderful, wonderful. So in the next 15 minutes, by around 11:40, I should be through with the presentation. I know some of you, we've had a conversation or we've done the presentation. In fact, I've had a conversation with some of you within the week regarding use of my accurate books, the accounting system. And today I will be as brief as possible. I will just run you through what my accurate books is, and I'm happy to share my screen in a moment. So allow me to share my screen. So a moment, new tab. So just log into my accurate books. Uh, we have a very beautiful story behind how this system came about. Because as RWK Africa, we do have a corporate community involvement, or what you call corporate social responsibility. And we do have a program called Skill Up Mentorship Program and Business Incubation Program. And out of that, we've been working with entrepreneurs, MSMEs, basically to empower them in different ways that they can generate revenue. So one of the trainings that we do is on financial management and how businesses can take care of their accounting and bookkeeping. And we realized that there existed a very huge gap in business among entrepreneurs. And we thought, how can we simplify that? How can we make it more effective for them? How can we go all the way to make sure that we help them to stand the test of time insofar as business is concerned? And I can confirm to you that of the many people that we've been able to train, of many entrepreneurs we've been able to train, over 200, in fact, over 270 of them are already using this system and it is working for them. So by subscribing to this system, you will be joining a community or a team of entrepreneurs who are experiencing seamless management of business. Now, if you don't have the account, that would mean that you sign up. And it is also good to say that the application is on Play Store. You can get it from the Play Store. And you can also access it from the web as I'm doing currently. So, under the web, you're supposed to fill in your details. If it's a business, you have a business name and a brand, you indicate the details of that business. If maybe the business doesn't have a name, you can have the account under your name. you would still be in a position to manage everything around your business under your name. In the meantime, allow me to use, because I do have an existing account, allow me to use mine. And as we proceed, if you have a question, don't hesitate to note it down on the chat box. I'm happy to respond before we conclude this session. Once again, if you do have a question, don't hesitate to write it down on the chat box. I'm happy to respond. So as soon as you sign up, this is your landing page. And even as you create your account, if you go to the profile icon, you have an option of editing your business profile. In this case, for example, for this one, we are calling it Patana Events and Brands. We can change that and, for example, say this is a epic. We can say this is a and you update the logo if there is, and you say yes. Now, still under profile, you can include payment details. For example, you can say a payment will be done via bank account. And you say the branch name is maybe to be say Nakuru branch. And the bank name is, let's say, NCBA Bank. And the branch name is, let's say, Westlands. Account name is Mavuno Wholesalers. Let's say that's your account number, and you update that payment method. So for this demonstration, we will only use that account so that, again, you get to understand how you go about it. So under the dashboard, you're able to see your sales for a period of 1 month, or expenses or purchases, or even P&L. And under that, you'll also get the graph for all that pay for all the transactions. So you can tell pattern of when your business is booming and when your business is not as good. And this applies to both people in the service industry or the ones who are selling products. So whether you are a consultant, whether you are an audit firm, or you are a law firm, basically, or you are even a HR management training firm, or even a communication consulting firm, you can update your services in this system. Now, under the items, this is where you update your inventory. If you are in the service industry, whether is a HR aspect in the HR consulting, you could say maybe consultation for an hour this much would cost. Let's use that. The item name is HR consultation. It's 2 hours. These are service. So you say that would cost, for example, 5,000 or 10,000. And because you don't purchase a service, you just indicate the cost of that service. If it is vetted, you could say it has 16%, 8%, zero rated. Let's say this one is zero rated and add that service. This is zero. So that's an updated item. We add another one. For the wholesaler, we could say bale of unga. Let's say here in the market, yenye inakula sana inaitwa Spencer. So these are product. And you say we are selling one bale. And purchase price of that bale we say is 1,200. And you are selling it at 2,000. And we update it. Let's say it has 16% VAT. Now, when you go to making a sale, you go and say, I'm making a sale. And as let's say we are selling that unga, Spencer, and we are selling one. You can update who your customer is. If it's a return customer, you can update it in your system. In this case, let's say my customer is not a new customer, but we say, let me show you procedure for a new customer. We could say the new customer is Wu is a Chinese client, Wu Yi. And the number is 011000032. That's enough. Email is not a must as long as you have their number. So you are selling your Spencer to Wu Yi. And they're supposed to pay the money, they're paying at the counter. So you're generating a receipt for them. And we say they're paying through your bank account. That is Mavuno Wholesalers. And you complete that sale. So you already have that they've bought your unga, and you can now give them their receipt. We return to the sale. In the event that now you are doing consulting, HR consulting, could say HR, and now that you only had one bale, you can see it is out of stock. I'll show you how you can replenish your stock. HR concentration. And let's say you're doing it for 2 days, both 2 hours, 2 hours. So that is 20,000. So you could do this as an invoice. Your customer is, let's get a corporate, is Green Action for Sustainable Environment. So you say they are going to pay via invoice. And if they're paying through invoice, payment is through bank account. You still go to your Mavuno. Payment is expected by Monday this next week. And the service delivery is today and Monday. So we are doing today and Monday. Starting today, payment is, you could say 50% before, and remaining in balance on the last day. So they have given you a deposit of 10,000 or 5,000. Let's say 10,000, 50%. And we create that invoice. So you can opt to print it, or you can opt to download it. There are two options. So That is the outlook. You return to sales. So green action has only paid 10%. You want to clear that payment. You come to your sales and you say receive payments. Now we say that today is Monday and they're supposed to pay the last payment. You come here, collect payment. You say they are paying the whole amount and they are paying through bank. And you say the amount is being paid in full. So after that, you complete that payment. So green action against green action for environmental sustainability in Africa has cleared their bills. So you see, this is paid. Now we go to purchases. This applies to any business, whether it's in service or it's in goods. Over here, when you're purchasing for anything for the business, you must have a supplier. If it's someone whom you are trading with for a long time, you can update that they are in your system. Let's say, for example, Dawa supplies. And in this case, they want to supply you maybe as a HR consulting firm, you need a camera. So you get a camera from them and say you create that purchase order. So this is open. When the camera has been delivered and you've made the payment, you come to your system and update that this is approved and the payment was through a receipt, and you indicate the number of the receipt. In this case, it could be maybe 2011-3. That is the number of the receipt, and you save changes. So after saving that changes, which means that that has been paid, that has been approved, you would still come back and pay for the purchase. Is that you would so we are over here on suppliers. You are able to update all your suppliers under this feature. The other option is that you can download a template from the system, key in information of your suppliers, and then import it and upload it. They will be saturated under suppliers. When you go to customers, these are the customers. You will as well, you can import the template, saturate it with information, and import it here. It will break down all the information of your customers, or what you'd call loyal customers. However, in the event that it is just a walk-in, the system has a feature where you just say that this is a walk-in customer, so you don't have to key in their details. The other option is you can add them yourself without using a spreadsheet and update them here. What is important is their name and their phone number. For businesses, if you're trading with businesses which have even KRA PIN, you can update their details here for ease of updating data. Let's go to reports. So you can get up to 5 different reports on inventory, what is in stock. This applies especially for those who are in the sale of goods. You can update, you can see what is remaining in your stock so that you can replenish your stock. Again, you can print out that report when you want to maybe ratify what everything that you have and what you need to top up in the system. you can see under this feature. When you go to sales report, P&L, let's first go to P&L. You can download it as PDF or as Excel. So as PDF, the summary is here. Total sales that you've made, expenses for the business, and also net profit for the business. When it comes to expenses, which is also very important, I realize that we've not talked about it. Every business incurs cost. If you're a consultant, you incur cost to go to your client, you incur cost to make calls to prospects, you incur cost to as travel, as electricity, as rent for your space. All that can be updated under expenses. So that as you break down your profits, or as you get a report on P&L, you're able to see the much that you spent. Basically, as you get your margin, you're able to see how much you spent as a business. And most importantly, if you're not a solopreneur where you're the only one running your business, the system is enabled in a way that you can give some of your team members or your team member a role in the system. For example, let's work with, maybe in this case, we can work with Sally Wanjiku. So you can give Sally responsibility in your business, whether she's you want them as cashier or their salesperson, if it's a hardware or whether they are doing, they are going to your clients, you can update, you can give them responsibility in this system. And as a salesperson, the fact that they are working with you, the status should be active. When they're no longer working with you, you make it inactive. So with the active, you go next and say, because they are your sales, or she's your salesperson, you will update that she can only access that and customers. And that is it. So that is the only thing that she's going to access. However, as the administrator, you can access everything about the system. The other bit is on if you have branches. This is something that we are working on currently. And when you have branches, you can manage them remotely through your phone or even through your computer. Assuming that you have a branch in CBD, Nairobi, you have another one in Kajiado, and maybe another one in Nakuru or Nyeri, you can see what they are doing from your phone. Now, why the feature is still pending is because there is an aspect of the system, but it cannot stop any other transactions of the business. There is a wallet aspect of the system that we are working on. It should be up and running in a week or two time. In a week or two, it should be up and running, where you can even do now transactions through the system. That will be a game changer because you'll have one pool of transaction as a business owner, and that will simplify how you now get your reports and how you can access your accounts, because that will be your holder of finances. The other feature that is also upcoming is on eTeams. For those who would require to use eTeams, we are on top gear. I would say we are on top of this with KRA. We are closing on it. Our hope is that we can finalize on it before the end of the month. And in the event that you are using maybe the free package or the standard package, you can upgrade it to the gold package. And I would invite that my co-host to maybe share a link with you, and maybe so that you can, again, if you don't have the application, you can download it on Play Store. That is My Accurate Books, and it's a small application because it's only 15 MBs, and it can keep every information about your books. When it comes to packages, we have the standard package, which is 500 shillings a month. And we also have the gold package, which is 750 a month. When you go to, if you go quarterly, that is discounted because you would be paying only 1,400 shillings only, or 2,200 shillings only. And annually, it is extremely discounted because you will only pay 5,500 shillings as investment under standard package, or 9,000 under, instead of 12 under gold package. So at this point, unless there's a question, I'm happy to respond to questions. I thank you very much for your time. So is there a question? If you have a question, kindly note it down. I'm happy to respond. And as you do the feedback form, again, we can touch base after this with the feedback, if you're able to fill your details on the feedback form. However, take advantage of this time, ask questions, concerns, clarifications that you might require, and even download. In fact, the fact that you are in here, as long as I'll have your information on the form, you qualify to a month-long free use of the system. So as a way of saying asante. So Nancy, you ask, is it integrated with Teams? At the moment, not, but as I have mentioned, we are on top gear with the KRA to make sure we close on this. Our prayer and hope is that by the end of this month, it will be up and running. That is the only feature that we have minimal control over because it involves the government. But on the aspect of the wallet, that one I can tell you for sure that we are closing on it on a week's time. Does that mean that after the month use free version? So Duncan, thank you very much for your question. So what we do is that after the 1 month, not that it will be no longer be available, just that you will not be able to access some features because I will be now putting you under 1 month free. So you will not be able to access some other features after that 1 month. You will not be locked out. The intention is that you get to interact with the system, use it at whatever you are doing. And when you have questions or concerns, you can reach out. We are happy to support because we would want you to succeed as a business owner or as an accountant or as an entrepreneur. That is our biggest goal. Absolutely, Duncan. Most welcome. So unless there is another question, I would invite you to fill in your details in that form and indicate what aspect of the system you'd like to know more. I'm happy to touch base with you so that, again, you can get to know more about it at a personalized level. I thank you very much for your time. That was my time. And before you leave, kindly make sure that you've filled that form, indicate your needs and concerns. As I've mentioned, I'm happy to get back to you. I'm happy to have a more personalized conversation on how best the system can be of help to your venture. Asanteni sana.